Hello, my name is Greg Meredith with Xilinx Support, and today we'll be reviewing application note 058, Xilinx in-system programming using an embedded controller. I'm going to briefly walk you through the overview of this application note and how this breaks down into a system implementation. For starters, this application note allows us to use a microcontroller or a processor to program devices in a JTAG chain. We'll be using files, SVF files from Impact, as our source files to program the devices. The application note contains processor code, C code, that will be compiled on the processor as the player itself. For starters, an overview of the system will contain multiple devices in a JTAG chain. Right, this system will also need to contain a microprocessor that has the capability of driving the JTAG lines. At the end of the day, what we will be doing is to target one of the devices in the chain and erase, program, and verify that device or any other JTAG operations that can be recorded in Impact. There's two halves to this. One is the actual operations on the JTAG chain. The second is the processor implementation in regards to compiling C code and providing source files. To get started with this, first what we'll want to do is be confident that we can work on the JTAG chain itself and can use Impact to successfully run through each operation on the given device being targeted. At that point, Impact can be used to create SVF files that work on this same device. These SVF files can then be tested in Impact before being brought into the embedded system. After we have our SVF files that work correctly in Impact, we can then start on the microprocessor. The application note has the embedded C code that will get compiled on the processor. Right? So the first step here is to embed the C code in the processor and compile that. The second step will be to take these SVF files and translate them to XSVF files. Impact can create XSVF files and SVF files at the same time. XSVF files can also be created through a compilation process included in the application note, SVF to XSVF. These XSVF files are the binary files of the ASCII SVF files and will then be used as inputs into the processor. Once the C code from the application note is compiled on the processor, the XSVF files are then fed into the processor, and these same operations that we ran in Impact will now be run over the JTAG chain. Right? The C code itself has an exit code, so we'll know if the files have played successfully or not. In regards to getting this system up and running, this is a lot going on. It all works great. If you start to have problems with this, boiling down the operations being targeted to ensure that you can, in fact, attach a JTAG header here and use Impact on the JTAG chain. Also running simple operations. As opposed to a full erase program verify, we can just run an ID code check. For starters, an ID code SVF file can be created in Impact. The XSVF can be ported into the processor and played out over to the chain to ensure the JTAG chain is working. Right. At that point, the full system is now implemented and you should be up and running. That was our overview of application note 058. Thanks.